Hi, my name is Dan Grissom. I'm an assistant professor in the computer science department at Azusa Pacific University in Southern California. And in this tutorial, I'm basically going to show you how to download the development environment and basically compile a C++ program for Windows 10, but not using Microsoft Visual Studio, but instead using the GCC G++ compiler toolkit. So if you're familiar with C++ at all, you'll know that there are kind of two major compilers. There's the Microsoft's Visual C++ compiler, and there is the GCC or G++ compiler toolkit or toolchain. So the problem with, if you've ever done development on Windows and C++, most likely you've done it using Visual Studio. Visual Studio was designed by Microsoft. The Visual Studio C++ compiler was designed for Microsoft, so obviously it works very well with Windows. But the problem is it doesn't really work. You can't really compile programs for other operating systems like Linux and Mac. Now, it's not entirely true as of today in 2016. If you Google, you will find that Visual Studio recently announced that they are releasing an extension so you can do some Linux basically compiling Linux programs. But again, it's not really the major intent. It hasn't really been supported over the years. So on the other side, we have the GCC or G++ compiler toolkit. And the problem with this is that it's not really supported on Windows. So you can go out and compile programs on Mac and Linux and other operating systems, but not necessarily easily, especially on Windows. So I kind of prefer to use GCC because you can actually write a program in Linux, and then it's much easier to go ahead and compile that program for Windows or for Mac or for another operating system than if you're on Visual C++. There's a number of different libraries that are very Windows specific and things like that. So in general, the portability will be much easier with GCC. So without seeing too much more, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install the development environment. So the first thing I want to do is actually go ahead and download a version of Eclipse. Now you may have Eclipse already for Java development, but we're going to get a special version. Now you can actually add the C++ features onto the regular version, but I'm going to go ahead and just start with the unique version just for C++. So go ahead and go to www.eclipse.org. And you'll see Neon is the newest Eclipse package. I believe it's 4.6. Go ahead and just click download. And download again, you'll get this nice installer. So the longest parts of this demo will be downloading. We can see right now it's going very slow. We'll hope that picks up. I'll go ahead and pause it, and when it's done, we'll pick back up. All right, and we're back now. Sorry it took a while. The Eclipse website can be pretty slow sometimes. That took me about half an hour, so sometimes you just gotta download it at the right time. But anyway, now that we've downloaded the installer, you can see I got the 64-bit. It'll kind of detect your system. Mine is just on the desktop, so go ahead and just double-click it. It's very simple. It's more simpler than ever. They have an installer now. You used to just download zip files. So once that opens up, you can basically click this Eclipse IDE for C++ developers. You can create a start menu entry if you want. I'm just going to install mine on the desktop actually, and click install. And then it'll go ahead and download and install. So again, we'll see this going pretty quickly now. Okay, so you can see it's created Eclipse CPP Neon on my desktop. So I'll go ahead and just close this. And you can click launch now, but we're just going to double click and you'll see Eclipse Neon will load up. Okay, just create a workspace somewhere. I'm just going to put C. something like that, just to make sure it doesn't conflict with any other workspaces. Okay, so that's the first part. We have the Eclipse IDE, but before we can really do anything, and I'm actually not quite ready to run this yet, so I'm going to close it. Before I can actually compile programs, even though I have the editor, I need the C++ compiler. Okay, so I'm actually going to close this and go back to Chrome or whatever your browser is, and just open up a Google page and type in MinGW64 and hit enter. And you'll see a few links come up. The one you're looking for is the SourceForge link. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that link, and then I'm going to click the download MinGW-W64-install. Again, this is assuming you're on a 64-bit version of Windows, which if you're on Windows 10, most likely will be true. And you'll see it downloads an installer. Okay, so I am going to open up that installer, double click, yes, next. And it's basically going to give you some options. Okay, so what you want to do is basically click whichever version is the newest, unless you have some reason to click an older one. Again, I'm on a 64-bit system, so I'm going to click the 64-bit version. And then you can leave everything else defined. POSIX, SEH, exception, and then build version 0 is fine. Click next, and it's going to give you an option of where to install. Okay, so I'm actually going to just do it on the desktop for now. I'll just kind of make a download folder, whatever you want it to be, and I will put it on in that folder. Don't particularly want start menu, so start menu options, so click next, and this will begin the download process. And it shouldn't take too long, a few seconds hopefully. And again, this is another one that can sometimes cause you issues. Sometimes this can be a slow download. If it is a slow download while it's loading, one thing you can do, because I've had trouble with this installer, is actually go back to, if I go back and click on files, you can kind of get what you need. You can kind of notice the downloads per week. You can kind of look around and see which ones are the best. We want the 64 Win64 toolchains. Go to personal builds, MinGW builds, and then you want to click the newest one, which in this case is 6.1. You can see it's had a big spike in downloads recently. So you can kind of find which one's the most popular. Again, we picked the POSIX, SEH, and then you can actually click it. And you're basically going to download what this installer just downloaded. So anyway, go ahead and click finish. And now what we're going to have is, in my downloads section, I've got this MinGW. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually open up my C drive, okay? And I'm going to make a folder called, actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this MinGW directly to the C drive. Don't really need this other stuff. And just going to clean that up a little bit. MinGW. Okay, so now I have MinGW64 in my C drive. If I go in there, you'll see the bin folder is where you can find your actual G++, GCC executables. Okay, so now that that's in there, I can shut that, and now I can actually go back to my Eclipse and open it up. And we're almost ready. We're basically ready. I'm going to go into my workspace, click OK. We are almost ready to go here. Okay, so before I write any code, I want to basically, so basically we can at this point now go ahead and create a C++ project. So go ahead and just click new, right click and say C++ project on the over there in the Project Explorer, and we'll just give it, you know, my first project. Okay. Now something you may or may not see depending on which order you installed MinGW versus Eclipse, you may not actually see what we're looking for is our toolchain MinGW. This is probably the biggest thing that people can trip up on, is you need to actually come down here and show project types and toolchains only if they're supported on the platform. Go ahead and uncheck that, and you'll find MinGW will come up. Okay, then you can click it. Eclipse hasn't quite made the associations yet, and we'll do that final step in just a second. So go ahead and just click finish. Okay, we will go ahead and add a file. So just right click on my first project, new source file, and then we'll just call this main.cpp. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna copy and paste a simple program. This is without C++11 features, so very simple. It's just a hello world. Okay, now again, I haven't actually, Eclipse doesn't actually know where the compiler is. So if I click build, you'll see in my problems, it just doesn't know. It says where is G++, where is GCC, what is CL, all these things. So what we need to do to fix that, and there's a few ways we can do this. The easiest way without having to restart your computer is just to right click on the project and then click properties. Click on the C build to expand it, and then click on environment. You'll see path down here, and it kind of gives us variable MinGW home /bin. So we just need to set up MinGW home, which is right here, to essentially whatever address you stored it in, which for us it was C/MinGW64. Okay, so what that does is it tells Eclipse that your compiler is in C MinGW64/bin, which if you remember, that's exactly where we saw it. So just click OK, and then go ahead back here, click, you can see it's actually automatically rebuilding it in Neon. If you want, you can click the build and click play, and you see hello world. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is that by default, and this wasn't the case in some older versions of Eclipse and MinGW, but by default, C++11 is supported. So let me go ahead and now get a simple C++11 program. So some of the newer features are I have these for each loops, and I also have this auto variable. So again, I'm going to compile that and go ahead and play it, and you'll see that it plays. It prints out hello world, and then the elements from this particular array that we created. All right, well, I hope that helps, and have a great day. Thanks.